streets choked up on the banks of the water, crawling up the cement pilings that hold Main Street overhead, and save for a dim, yellow bulb at the foot of a small wooden pier, Allen's Landing is complete blackness. Jay stands beneath his city, staring at the raggedy boat, feeling a knot tighten in his throat, a familiar cinch at the neck, a feeling of always coming up short where his wife is concerned. He feels a sharp stab of anger. The guy on the phone lied to him. The guy on the phone is a liar. It feels good to outsource it, to put it on somebody else, when the truth is, there are 35 open case files on his desk, at least 10 or 12 with court time pending. There wasn't time to plan anything else for Bernie's birthday, and more important, there hasn't been any money. Not for months. He's waiting on a couple of slip and falls to pay big, but until then, there's nothing coming in. When one of his clients, a guy who owes him money for some small-time probate work, said he had a brother or an uncle or somebody who runs boat tours up and down the bayou, Jay jumped at the chance. He got the whole thing comped, just like the dinette set he and Bernie eat off of every night, just like his wife's car, which has been on cement blocks in Petey's garage since April. Jay shakes his head in disgust. Here he is, a working man with a degree, 2, in fact, and still he's taking handouts, living secondhand. He feels the anger again, and beneath it, its ugly cousin, shame. He tucks the feelings away. Anger, he knows, is a young man's game, something he long ago outgrew. There's a man standing on the boat near the head. He's thin and nearing 70 and wearing an ill-fitting pair of Wranglers. There are tight gray curls poking out of his nylon baseball cap, the words, Brotherhood of Longshoremen, Local 116, smudged with dirt and grease. He's sucking on the end of a brown cigarette. The old man nods in Jay's direction, tipping the bill of his cap. Jay reaches for his wife's hand. I am not getting on that thing. She tries to fold her arms across her chest to make the point, but her growing belly is not where it used to be, or even where it was last week. Her arms barely reach across the front of her body. Come on, he says. You got the man waiting now. I ain't thinking about that man. Jay tugs on her hand, feels her give just the tiniest bit. Come on. Bernie makes a whistling sound through her teeth, barely audible, which Jay hears and recognizes at once. It's meant to signal her thinning patience. Still, she takes his hand, scooting to the edge of her seat, letting Jay help her out of the car. Once she's up and on her feet, he reaches into the back seat, pulling out a shoebox full of cassette tapes and 8-tracks and tucking it under his arm. Bernie is watching everything, studying his every move. Jay takes her arm, leading her to the edge of the small pier. It sags and creaks beneath their weight, Bernie carrying an extra 30 pounds on her tiny frame these days. The old man in the baseball cap puts one cowboy boot on a rotted plank of wood that bridges the barge to the pier and flicks his cigarette over the side of the boat. Jay watches it fall into the water, which is black, like oil. It's impossible to tell how deep the bayou is, how far to the bottom. Jay squeezes his wife's hand, reluctant to turn her over to the old man, who is reaching a hand over the side of the boat, waiting for Bernie to take her first step. You Jimmy? Jay asks him. No, Jimmy ain't coming. Who are you? Jimmy's cousin. Jay nods, as if he were expecting this all along, as if being Jimmy's cousin is an acceptable credential for a boat's captain, all the identification a person would ever need. He doesn't want Bernie to see his concern. He doesn't want her to march back to the car. The old man takes Bernie's hand and gently guides her onto the boat's deck, leading her and Jay to the cabin door. He keeps close by Bernie's side, making sure she doesn't trip or miss a step, and Jay feels a sudden, unexpected softness for Jimmy's cousin.